Solomnic Knights had proposed that the Whitestone Council be called back into session. Lorana had been the leader of the Whitestone forces during the war, and now she represented the Elven nations in the negotiations. The Lord Mayor of Palanthus led the Solomnic delegation. The Hill Dwarves and the Mountain Dwarves both sent representatives, as did the Gnomes and the Ergothians. The Kender of Kendermore were represented by their energetic and intelligent young leader, Bailiff II, who claimed to be a descendant of the great Kender military hero. Tanis had no formal role in the proceedings, but all the parties respected him, and he was occasionally called upon to act as mediator if the discussions grew contentious. He was thankful he did not have a formal role, for this meant he could slip away from the meetings to pay a visit to his friends Tika and Caramon to congratulate them on the birth of their second child. He was soaked through and dispirited by the time he reached the inn, but the familiar surroundings lifted his spirits. The inn was warm and crowded and noisy. Tika greeted him with a smile and scolded him for traveling through the storm. She took his cloak to dry by the fire, then led him to his usual table, which was located near the bar, so that Caramon could join in the conversation while he worked. Tika and her husband Caramon were the inn's proprietors, and she waited on customers while her husband reigned over the bar. "Shouldn't you be resting?" Tanis asked, seeing her carrying 4 plates of spiced potatoes, balancing 2 on her forearms and holding 1 in each hand. "You just gave birth." "I had a baby, not the plague," said Tika. "Young Sturm's down for his nap, or I'd let you meet him." She moved among the tables, delivering the plates and mugs of ale, then came back to sit down beside Tanis. "Any word from Tass?" Tanis asked. "No," said Tika, sighing. "I miss him. I'd give most of the spoons to have him back. I'm sick at heart with worry that something has happened to him. I never did trust that woman." "What woman?" Tanis asked, unable to follow the leap in Tika's conversation. "That rosebush woman," said Tika, wearing that horrid, ugly gem around her neck. "Destina Rosethorn," Caramon called from behind the bar. "You sent us that letter telling us about how you met with Astinus and found out that Destina had gone back in time to the Third Dragon War and taken Raceland and Sturm and Tass with her." "You've heard nothing of them since?" Tika asked. "I haven't," said Tanis. "Truth to tell, I've been so busy I hadn't thought about it. I guess I assumed that since I hadn't heard anything, all was well, and everyone had come back safely." Tika shook her head. "We haven't seen hide nor hair of Tass, and you know he would have come here to tell us his adventures." "True," said Tanis, troubled. "I'll go see if your food's ready," Tika said, rising. She returned with a full plate and set it down in front of him. "Odic spiced potatoes, crispy, just the way you like them. Do you need anything else?" Tika asked. "You were going to bring me a mug of ale," Tanis reminded her. "So I was," said Tika, sighing. "I'm that worried, it slipped my mind. Maybe it's the gloomy day, but I feel like trouble's coming. Terrible trouble, and I don't know what or why. I'll fetch the ale." Caramon handed the mug to Tika, who carried it back to Tanis. She was starting to sit down when a customer spoke up from the back. "Tika, I ordered the chicken stew and you brought me potatoes." "And you'll eat potatoes and like it, Hal Miller," Tika shouted. "Yes, Tika," Miller said meekly and began shoveling potatoes into his mouth. Caramon silently brought a plate of stew from the kitchen, set it down in front of Miller, and removed the potatoes. Carrying them back to the bar, he picked up his little son Tannen and began to eat the potatoes himself, sharing them with his son. Tika sighed and looked out the stained glass windows. A group of Kender were loitering about outside the inn, laughing and talking, heedless of the rain. "They're hoping to be able to sneak inside before I catch them," said Tika. "Every time I look out, I expect to see Tass with them." "How are the negotiations for the new Whitestone Council coming, Tanis?" Caramon asked, changing the subject. Tanis sighed and shook his head. "We were close to having everything settled, with the elves and knights sharing leadership, when an elf